All right, let's dive deep into Ray Dalio's world and those principles for success he's so well known for.
Okay, sounds good.
So today we're pulling the best bits from his book and mixing in some really interesting articles about Bridgewater, the company he built.
Yeah.
We're going to see how these principles actually worked, in real life,
Right.
both for Dalio himself and in the unique culture of Bridgewater, right?
Interesting you say pulling the best bits.
Yeah.
Because Dalio, he's all about getting to the core of reality. Even those uncomfortable bits we tend to shy away from. He's, you could call him a hyper-realist.
Okay, so, what does being a hyper-realist even mean?
Yeah.
It sounds a little intense.
It is, a bit.
Is it about seeing the world through, rose-colored glasses, or is there more to it than that?
More like taking those glasses off completely.
Oh, okay.
Dalio thinks a lot of our struggles come from fighting reality instead of just accepting it. He uses this analogy of nature, like, think about rainy days, weaknesses, even death, right?
Yeah.
They're all part of the system. Nature's not out to make us comfy. It's optimized for the whole.
So it's about seeing that big picture and working within those natural constraints.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Dalio, actually, he tells this great story
Yeah.
about how he was completely blindsided when Nixon took the U.S. off the gold standard back in '71.
Wow.
He didn't even think it was possible because he was so focused on the present and hadn't looked at, history precedents. It was a harsh lesson in the importance of taking a broader view.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
We can all get a bit tunnel-visioned, especially when we're aiming for a specific goal.
Absolutely.
But it sounds like Dalio's approach is stepping back,
Yeah.
understanding those underlying systems at play.
And constantly learning from them.
Oh, okay.
Dalio's principle of maximizing evolution, it really ties into this. He believes that true satisfaction for both people and organizations comes from continuous learning and improvement.
Okay.
Like, imagine chasing bait.
Right.
The real reward is the pursuit, the growth, not actually catching it.
So it's about enjoying the self-improvement journey and adapting to new info as we go.
Yeah, that's it.
But let's get practical here.
Okay.
How can we actually use these principles?
Right.
Dalio's got that famous 5-step process for decisions. What's that look like in real life?
Oh, it starts with setting clear goals.
Okay.
From there, you identify problems blocking you from those goals, diagnose the root causes, then design solutions to tackle them, and finally push through to get those results.
Sounds pretty straightforward so far, but I have a feeling there's a bit more to it.
You got that right.
What makes Dalio's process unique?
Well, one thing that sticks out is his focus on thoughtful disagreement.
Okay.
He believes real progress comes from constructive conflict, where everyone's genuinely looking for the best answer.
Right.
This is huge in Bridgewater's culture, by the way.
Now, you've mentioned Bridgewater a couple of times.
Yeah.
And I'm curious.
Yeah.
I know Dalio's known for, well, a pretty unique work environment.
That's putting it mildly.
Some might even call it controversial.
Maybe a little.
Can you give us a peek behind the curtain?
One of the most well-known things at Bridgewater is this idea of baseball cards.
Baseball cards.
Yeah, basically they're profiles of each employee,
listing
their strengths and weaknesses objectively.
Oh, okay.
The idea is complete transparency about everyone's capabilities.
Interesting.
It helps optimize team performance.
So it's like having a cheat sheet for understanding your colleagues.
In a way.
Could lead to some interesting team dynamics.
It does, and it's not always smooth sailing.
Right.
But the goal is to create an environment where people use their strengths.
Okay.
And support each other where they might need help. And it all goes back to embracing reality.
Yeah.
Even when it's about our own limitations.
And it seems like Dalio doesn't just stop at strengths and weaknesses.
No, he doesn't.
He brings in personality types too, right?
He does.
He's a big fan of Myers-Briggs.
Absolutely. He found that understanding individual thinking styles was super helpful.
Yeah.
For matching people to roles and responsibilities.
Makes sense.
Another way to leverage everyone's unique talents, and create a more efficient organization.
So we've got embracing reality, a unique decision-making process, and this radical transparency at Bridgewater.
Right.
I'm already seeing how these principles could apply to different parts of life, not just business.
And that's one of the most fascinating things about Dalio's approach.
Yeah.
It's about building a machine for success, but that machine can be used for personal goals, teams, even entire organizations.
Interesting.
He believes life, like work, can be optimized by
Okay.
understanding those underlying components and constantly refining them.
I'm really curious to dig deeper into this machine idea.
Yeah.
What are the key parts, and how do we actually build one?
Well, one core principle is something Dalio calls meritocracy.
Okay.
Plays a huge role at Bridgewater.
How so?
It's about creating a system where the best ideas win no matter who they're from.
That sounds great in theory,
It does.
but how does that actually work? I
Right.
imagine it's challenging to implement it fairly and transparently.
For sure.
How do you even do that?
That's where Dalio's idea of radical truth and radical transparency comes in.
Okay.
It's about open communication and a constant flow of feedback, even when it's tough or uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's about a culture where everyone feels safe to speak their mind,
Right.
share their perspectives, even if they challenge the way things are.
I remember reading about Bridgewater's decision-making process around potentially spinning off their back office.
Oh, right.
They were incredibly transparent with everyone, even though it was a sensitive situation.
Very much so.
It seems like that level of openness would need a lot of trust within the organization.
It absolutely does. And that's why radical transparency is so important. It builds that trust and a shared purpose.
Okay.
When people feel like they have all the info
Yeah.
and that they're heard, they're more likely to buy in even if things don't go their way.
That's a really interesting point.
Yeah.
Seems like radical transparency could be powerful for building strong relationships and collaboration, not just at work, but in our personal lives too.
Absolutely. But it's not always easy.
Right.
Even Dalio admits he's made mistakes.
Really?
He tells a story about regretting giving his mentee, Greg Jensen, too much responsibility too soon.
I imagine that was a tough lesson.
It was.
Highlights the importance of delegation and understanding what people are capable of.
Exactly. A reminder that even with the best intentions, we need to be mindful of how our actions impact others and make sure we're setting them up for success.
We've covered a lot already. Embracing reality, the 5-step decision process, the baseball cards and Myers-Briggs at Bridgewater, radical transparency, and even Dalio's own learning experiences.
Yeah, quite a bit.
I'm eager to hear more about this idea of meritocracy, though.
Okay.
How does that work practically, and what are some of the tools Dalio uses to make it real?
Well, one of the most interesting concepts is believability-weighted decision-making.
Okay.
Basically a way to ensure the most credible opinions have more weight.
Right.
You won't believe this. Dalio actually created a tool for this.
A tool? You're kidding.
Nope.
This sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It kind of does.
What is it, like a mind-reading device that measures how credible ideas are?
Not quite mind reading, but it is pretty clever. It's called the dot collector. Used at Bridgewater to visualize and weigh different opinions based on individual believability.
Fascinating. So it's not just about everyone getting an equal say. It's about recognizing that some people have more expertise in certain areas.
Exactly.
But how do you even measure believability?
Right.
Seems pretty subjective.
It's not an exact science, for sure. But the idea is to look at track records, past successes, demonstrated expertise. It's about acknowledging that there is a hierarchy of merit while still being open to new ideas and perspectives.
So finding a balance between respecting expertise and creating an environment where everyone feels comfy contributing.
Exactly.
Can you give an example of how this played out at Bridgewater, like a real situation?
Dalio often talks about their analysis of the 2012 European debt crisis.
Oh, okay.
They used believability-weighted decision-making to assess the likelihood of different outcomes, taking into account the expertise and track records of those involved, help them navigate a complex situation, lots of uncertainty.
That's a great example. It sounds like a much more nuanced and data-driven approach to decisions than just going with the majority or the loudest voice.
Precisely. And Dalio believes this kind of data-driven decision-making is going to be even more important in the future.
Really? Why is that?
Well, he sees algorithms and AI playing a bigger role, especially as we deal with increasingly complex challenges.
That's a really interesting point.
Yeah.
We hear so much about AI these days.
We do.
It can feel a bit overwhelming.
It can.
Does Dalio think AI will, eventually replace human decision-making altogether?
Not necessarily.
Oh, okay.
While he's a big advocate for technology, he also emphasizes human judgment and deep understanding.
Makes sense.
He cautions against blind faith in machine learning, believes that we need to stay on top of the underlying principles and logic.
So it's about using AI as a tool.
Yeah.
to enhance human intelligence, not replace it.
Exactly. Much more reassuring, right?
It is.
Seems like we've covered a lot with Dalio's principles, from embracing reality and maximizing evolution to building a machine for success with radical transparency and this believability-weighted decision-making.
Where do we go from here?
Well, one of the most compelling things about Dalio's work is that it encourages us to think bigger,
Okay.
to apply these principles beyond just business to our personal lives, communities, even our political systems.
That's a great point.
It is.
It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and lose sight of that bigger picture.
Absolutely.
So how can we, as individuals, start using Dalio's principles in our own lives, outside of work?
One of the simplest but most powerful things is to start embracing reality, even those uncomfortable bits.
Okay.
Stop fighting what you can't control. Focus on understanding the systems
Right.
so you can work within them effectively.
Okay. So like how?
Think about a specific challenge you're facing right now
Right.
and ask yourself, what's the reality here and what can I do to adapt and evolve?
That's such a practical takeaway.
It is.
Really gets to the heart of Dalio's philosophy.
It doesn't.
It's about taking ownership of our choices and actions, even when things are tough.
Absolutely. And remember that decision-making process we talked about.
Yeah, the 5 steps.
Exactly. You can use those steps for almost any challenge.
Yeah.
Define your goal, identify obstacles, diagnose the root cause, brainstorm solutions, then take action.
Simple framework,
It is.
but it can be incredibly powerful.
Absolutely.
And the best part is, anyone can use it,
Exactly.
no matter their background or experience.
That's the beauty of it.
And don't forget about thoughtful disagreement.
Oh, yeah. That's key.
Seek out different viewpoints, challenge your own assumptions, be open to learning from others.
You never know what you might learn.
This has been an incredible deep dive so far.
It has.
Amazing how these principles can apply to so many different areas.
It really is, and I think Dalio would be thrilled to know that people are finding his work relevant and applicable beyond just finance.
Yeah.
He really believes these principles can make the world a better place.
Speaking of making the world better, there's one idea from Dalio that's been sticking with me.
Oh, yeah.
He suggests using believability-weighted decision-making for something as important as choosing our political leaders.
Now, that's a thought-provoking idea.
Right.
Imagine prioritizing experience, track record, demonstrated expertise
Yeah.
over popularity or charisma.
Oh.
It really challenges our current system.
Yes.
Raises some fascinating questions. Definitely makes you think, doesn't it?
It does. It makes you wonder if we could actually create a more effective
Yeah.
and accountable political system
Right.
by using some of Dalio's principles.
It's a radical idea, no doubt.
It is.
But I think it shows how much Dalio believes that systems can always be improved. He's always looking for better ways of doing things, whether it's business, personal life, or even society as a whole.
And that's what makes this deep dive so interesting.
Yeah.
It's not just about learning some principles.
No.
It's about embracing this mindset of continuous learning and improvement.
Exactly. It's about questioning assumptions, challenging the status quo, always trying to get better outcomes.
I think that's a great point to wrap things up.
Yeah.
This deep dive into Ray Dalio's principles has been incredibly insightful.
It has.
And I hope you, our listener, feel ready to start applying these ideas to your own life.
Remember, it all begins with embracing reality.
Right.
Once you accept the things you can't control, you can then focus your energy on what you can.
And don't be afraid to experiment.
Oh, absolutely.
Try out Dalio's 5-step process for decisions.
Yeah.
Seek out different perspectives. And maybe even think about how believability-weighted decision-making could work in your own life.
Could be interesting.
It could.
You might be surprised by what happens.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Ray Dalio's world.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you enjoyed the journey.
Absolutely. It could be eye-opening.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe we'll even see some of these principles adopted in the real world someday.
You never know. Stranger things have happened.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive into the fascinating world of Ray Dalio and his principles for success.
It's been a great discussion.
It has. And we want to thank you, our listener, for joining us on this journey of exploration and discovery.
We hope you've gained some valuable insights and are feeling inspired to apply these principles to your own life.
Remember, success is a journey, not a destination.
And it's a journey that's best taken with an open mind, a willingness to learn, and a commitment to continuous improvement.
So keep those principles in mind, embrace reality, and never stop striving for those better outcomes.
Who knows, maybe someday you'll be sharing your own principles for success with the world.
Until next time. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep.